Reaching net zero involves, among other things, changes to our everyday lives. So changes to the way we heat our homes, the way we eat, the way we travel. It's really important to us that these changes are accessible and affordable to households in the UK. So we wanted to see what a group of citizens, once they understood what needed to happen and what the options are, felt the government could do to support them so that these options were accessible and affordable.
At the beginning of those sessions, they heard from lots of experts about things like climate change, net zero, what government can do to create change. And then they learned about the kind of choices that households have to make.
I've been finding the discussions extremely informative, and it has given me a lot of food for thought.
It's enlightened me, it's educated me, it's given me knowledge.
It's not something I've ever really considered before, so it's like a bit of almost like insider knowledge that I got to see. The most surprising thing I've learned so far, I think, would be about how drastic the change has been over the last 50 years. So those colour-coded charts, I think, were really useful to show that in like a really, really easy to understand way.
The most surprising thing I've learned throughout the research, I would say, is about how much better electricity is in comparison to gas and everything else. I was ignorant, I didn't know. I thought they were very similar.
In terms of the electric vehicles, I think what's been surprising, I think, is how much misinformation I think is out there. There's a lot of myths that have been busted.
The household choices being more affordable and acceptable for people, I think majorly comes from it's top down, so it has to be led by the government. I think that it needs to be affordable, easy to do, and also incentivised. It has to be the better alternative.
If it's easy, then you're more likely to have me on board.
The government would need to probably introduce put more money into a wider marketing campaign, because like anything, I think you need the advertising and a positive feeling around it to encourage people to do it.
It's at the forefront of everyone's minds how much everything will cost. It's the cost of doing nothing, basically, that someone said this morning. So if it was explained to people what is going on, how bad this is, it seems like a small price to pay in comparison.
The main thing I took away, which actually quite surprised me, is that obviously we pay more for electric than we do gas. So I think obviously the main thing for me in terms of electric would be to bring that down, obviously steadily start to increase the price of gas, and then just try to move away from gas as a whole eventually.
I'd like to see the government making sure that all new homes have heat pumps.
100% grants for everybody, because if everybody's paying tax, in whether it be income tax or on your pension or whatever the tax that you're paying, if everybody is paying that tax, everybody should be eligible for a grant, in my opinion.
There needs to be grants available, but I think it needs to be opposed to maybe just looking at somebody's income. I think you need to have something that's kind of looking at a personal situation and, you know, what state your home is in. I think it's got to be more personalised opposed to one thing fits all.
We've got to have better public transport, better and cheaper and more efficient public transport.
I think it's just about finding the right balance of, all right, what is the government willing to put forward versus what can we financially do ourselves.
I think politicians should listen to the public more, because politicians are not on the ground, and I think people on the ground who it's affecting more should be heard.
I think that policymakers really do need to take into account the opinions of the public, because we are the ones that have to contribute and do the work in general, and it's a team effort. So if policymakers listen to the things and opinions that the public are saying and the professionals are saying, then it will really make a big step. It's like a big step forward into achieving net zero.
It's been important to us from the start that the findings from the Citizens Panel inform our advice and wider policy thinking. We've done briefings with civil servants and been feeding back to our colleagues at the CCC the key findings from this work, and already it's generating really interesting discussions and reflections on what advice we should be giving to government on policies going forwards. The report and its findings are going to be hugely valuable to policymakers, and we're really excited to share this with government so that they can take this into account in their plans as the country moves towards net zero.